Well, a major factor is the interest in the Bible and new people becoming interested all the time. When it was first published, the handbook was really groundbreaking because there were no big full-colour books in the Christian market at that time, so we were doing something quite new. And the other factor was the concept, I think, because we wanted to produce something which would look as good and be as attractive as the cookery books and the gardening books which were out there on the shelves of the general bookshops. And we also wanted to bring maps and photographs and everything together on page to help the reader. We were thinking in terms of families and young people and those who had a general interest in the Bible but not any background necessarily. So that was, I think, a unique concept. And then, of course, it was the way that concept was carried through, which has continued to work around the world and to the present day. I believe that the level at which it is pitched is one of the secrets, really. It's non-technical. It was never designed for theological students, even though quite often nowadays they use them. Lots of people use the book now who we never imagined would, but it was pitched for non-technical information provided through visuals but through the pictures and the maps and the graphics, as well as through the text. And then the general level of text is very accessible for the ordinary reader. And you can dip in and you can look at the general Bible guide text, which is what I contributed to the book. But you can also, if you want more, go to the specialist articles which were contributed, are now in the latest one, contributed by about 70 scholars around the world. So it is simple, but it's not simplistic. And where there are differences of opinion amongst scholars, we say this. We don't go into detail, but at least we allow people the opportunity to follow up and to make their own minds up about it. So we've brought together things which would otherwise be in an atlas, in a Bible dictionary, in a raft of reference books. And the idea is that you have this book, you have it next to a Bible, and that gives you what you need. Our journey in 1971 took 11 weeks. We drove 10,000 miles, and we took place on 1,500 large format transparencies plus 35 mils. We set off from Dover to Ostend. We went across Europe, through Germany, Austria, Yugoslavia it was then, northern Greece, first of the biblical sites, Thessalonica, Neapolis, Philippi, and on into Istanbul, then across the Bosphorus, heading for the New Testament sites in present-day Turkey, north of the west and south coasts of Turkey. We reached Iconium on my 34th birthday. Across the border to Syria, we headed for Aleppo and then Damascus. Across the border to Lebanon and Beirut. This was before the Civil War. The border with Israel was closed, so we had to ship out to Cyprus and then in to Haifa from there. We took in a lot of museums on the way, and for key biblical discoveries and artifacts which we knew were there. And we, at a campsite near Netanya, we worked through made a whole card index of the pictures we wanted, and then they were put into route order so that we could plan the time in Israel more effectively. There weren't any no-go areas in 1971, so we were able to go south to the Sinai border, north into Galilee, and the Lebanese and Syrian borders, and cover the whole of Israel, Palestine in between. The light was best for photography very early in the morning and in the hours between 4 and 7:30 when it got dark in the evening. So it was just much too flat and hot in the middle of the day, so there were a lot of early morning starts. We got up at sunrise, 4:30ish, as a matter of course, not something I've done since. And obviously a book that was first published in 1973 has needed to be revisited and updated, and we've done that. So this is the very first edition, which was published, and it looks a 70s book now. Then in the next decade, a lot of new English versions were coming out, and so this one took account of that, the second edition, and also had a revision of the style and the look of it inside. But by the time we got to approaching the new millennium, a lot of things had changed. Not the Bible, but what people were interested in. They were much more interested in story and in the place of women in the Bible, for example. And so, come the approaching millennium, we worked on a complete makeover, really, of the book in style. It still has the same basic ingredients, but it's updated in all sorts of ways, lots of extra plus factors, and it's increased in size with a lot more contributors, a lot more special articles, and really bringing it into the present day for a new generation of readers. And then 2 years later we brought it out in this, my favourite, which is this flexi-bound edition, because we wanted it to be very approachable and openable, and this has just the right feel. And now we're talking about a fourth edition, which has, again, all the authors have revisited the text. There's been minor tweakings really and fine-tunings, but taking account of new things that have come in, one or two new articles, new archaeological finds, and just a general bringing up to date and making it even more usable, even more accessible for the reader. We've put in an alphabetical list of special articles, which is going to help people find things more easily. Well, the handbook is simply an aid. It's the Bible itself which is important, but we all need help to understand it. And we want to provide new readers with a way in, basically. Without the Gospels, we'd know nothing, or virtually nothing, of Jesus Christ. And I believe that the Bible contains God's message to the world, a way of life and hope and forgiveness. And there's no other book to match it.